Imagine standing next to a police officer, staring at your best friend's freshly murdered corpse, and pretending you've never seen him before. In 1845 London, a lone policeman discovered the battered body of Eugene de la Rue outside the dark walls of Belsize Park. Within minutes, a young man named Thomas Hocker stepped from the shadows to inspect the scene. Hocker didn't flinch. He claimed he was a total stranger. But beneath their secret life of underground vices, Hocker had actually lured his wealthy companion to this path using a forged love letter, all for a watch and a purse. In the next 10 minutes, we uncover the chilling mind of a Victorian rake whose final, desperate defense shocked the courtroom. To understand how this brutal betrayal happened, we have to look beneath the pristine, gaslit surface of Victorian London. In 1845, society demanded absolute decorum, piety, and gentlemanly restraint. But for a certain class of young men, the real city only came alive after dark. Eugene de la Rue was a young gentleman of immense privilege. His family was wealthy and widely known as the founders of a famous playing card manufacturing empire, granting him access to London's elite circles. Thomas Hocker, by contrast, was a 22-year-old clerk and teacher. He was intelligent and articulate, but perpetually broke, living in a society where status was everything and poverty was a moral failing. Despite the vast gap in their wealth, the two became inseparable. They were bonded not by shared virtues, but by shared vices. Together, they navigated London's underground, collecting illicit, pornographic prints and organizing secret encounters with housemaids and local harlots. To the outside world, they were respectable young men. In reality, they were living a double life. But while Eugene could afford this expensive, hedonistic lifestyle, Thomas was drowning in debt and growing deeply, dangerously envious of his closest friend. The boiling point of Thomas Hocker's envy finally spilled over on the cold night of February 21st, 1845. A solitary Metropolitan Police officer was walking his beat along the isolated perimeter wall of Belsize Park, a wealthy enclave in Hampstead. The area was quiet, dark, and heavily shadowed by overhanging trees. Suddenly, the officer's lantern illuminated a horrifying sight in the mud. A young man was lying face down, his skull shattered. He had been brutally cudgeled to death, his life ended by a barrage of heavy, blunt force impacts. As the officer crouched over the body, trying to assess the scene in the dim light, the crunch of gravel broke the silence. Out of the darkness stepped Thomas Hocker. He didn't run, and he didn't panic. Instead, he calmly approached the policeman, leaning over to inspect the bloodied face of the victim. When the officer looked up at him, Hocker didn't utter a word of grief. With an icy, detached composure, he told the policeman he was a mere passerby out for a stroll. He stared directly at the body of his closest companion, Eugene de la Rue, and claimed he had absolutely no idea who the dead man was. The Metropolitan Police immediately launched an investigation into the brutal slaying, and it didn't take long for Hocker's chilly composure at the crime scene to backfire. As detectives began pulling at the threads of Eugene de la Rue's life, they naturally looked into his inner circle. When investigators questioned de la Rue's family and associates, a striking detail emerged. The victim's closest friend was a young man named Thomas Hocker. Shocked, the police realized that the helpful passerby who had stood over the corpse at Belsize Park wasn't a stranger at all. He was the dead man's shadow. Suddenly, Hocker's bizarre behavior on the night of the murder took on a deeply sinister light. Why had he feigned ignorance? Why had he looked his slaughtered companion in the face and lied to an officer of the law? The facade of the respectable Victorian youth was beginning to crack. The police placed Hocker under arrest, confident that their prime suspect was a man who had intentionally returned to the scene of his own monstrosity just to see if he could outsmart the law. Once Hocker was in custody, the police began a methodical search for physical evidence, and what they discovered completely dismantled any hope of an alibi. The first breakthrough came when investigators searched the pocket of the deceased. Eugene de la Rue's valuable gold pocket watch and his purse were missing, confirming that the motive for the attack was a desperate, cold-blooded robbery. But the most damning piece of paper trail evidence was found nearby, a letter addressed to the LaRue. The note was an elaborate trap, supposedly penned by a young, distraught woman claiming she was pregnant with Eugene's child and begging him to meet her secretly at the lonely footpath by Belsize Park. Handwriting analysis and family testimonies quickly revealed the truth. The letter was a malicious forgery, written entirely by Thomas Hocker. Armed with this discovery, the police raided Hocker's family home. Hidden away in a house, detectives hit the jackpot. They found Eugene de la Rue's stolen gold pocket watch and his missing purse. To seal his fate, a close inspection of Hocker's clothing revealed distinct, dark bloodstains that he could not wash away. The trap had snapped shut, with the physical evidence stacking up against him. Thomas Hocker faced a choice that would define his trial. Any logical defense attorney would try to challenge the bloodstains, question the handwriting on the forged letter, or find a loophole in how the stolen watch was discovered. Instead, Hocker chose to rely entirely on his own hubris, walking straight into a catastrophic legal mistake. You see, in the mid-19th century, the English legal system was caught in a transition. For generations, a man's social standing, his reputation, and his adherence to upper-class codes of behavior held massive weight in a courtroom. Hocker, despite being a broke clerk, fancied himself an elite gentleman who understood these unwritten rules. He decided that he would not offer a traditional, fact-based legal defense. He refused to provide an alibi, and he refused to give the police or his own legal representation any explanation for why the victim's blood and property were in his possession. He mistakenly believed that by adopting a posture of stoic, aristocratic silence, the court would respect his privacy and view him as a man of supreme character. It was a fatal gamble that completely misunderstood the changing nature of modern law. When the trial opened at the Old Bailey, it immediately became a public sensation. The courtroom was packed to the rafters, eager to see how this articulate young clerk would explain away the overwhelming mountain of physical evidence. When Hocker finally took the stand, he didn't offer an alibi. Instead, he leaned entirely into his role as a dramatic, romantic figure, attempting to weaponize Victorian social codes. He looked the judge and jury in the eye and claimed that he could offer absolutely no explanation for his actions or the stolen items because he was bound by a gentleman's sacred honor. His story? He was romantically protecting a lady's name. Hocker insinuated that a mysterious, unnamed woman of high social standing was involved in the evening's events. He gambled everything on the belief that a Victorian court would value a woman's fragile reputation over a definitive explanation of a murder charge. He truly believed that his performance of elite, chivalric silence would act as an invisible shield, forcing the justice system to back down out of respect for his gentlemanly honor. But the prosecution and the judge refused to play along with Hocker's romantic fantasy. Instead of treating his silence as noble, the courtroom exposed it as a desperate, transparent shield. The prosecutor systematically laid out the physical evidence: the forged pregnancy letter, the blood-soaked clothes, and the victim's gold watch found hidden in Hocker's family home. They shattered his gentlemanly illusion, showing the jury that this wasn't an honorable man protecting a lady. It was a destitute, envious clerk who had executed his best friend for a purse and a pocket watch. The twist was that Hocker's extreme arrogance completely sealed his fate. In an era where a strong character defense could sometimes sway a jury, his refusal to answer the hard, forensic facts meant he left himself with no defense at all. The law pivoted sharply away from evaluating his theatrical performance of aristocratic honor, focusing instead on the cold, hard physical evidence left in the mud. The jury took only a short time to deliberate, returning a verdict of guilty. The case of Thomas Hocker remains a striking milestone in legal history because it marked a major shift in how justice was served. For centuries, British courts placed a massive premium on social status, character references, and upper-class decorum. If a man looked like a gentleman and acted with traditional honor, the system was often inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. But Hocker's trial proved that the old ways were dead. The case demonstrated the growing power of a modern, methodical justice system, one built on physical evidence, circumstantial tracking, and objective facts rather than social theater. The law effectively sent a message to the public. The courtroom was no longer a stage for romantic fantasies, and concepts of elite chivalry would no longer be allowed to act as a shield to protect a cold-blooded killer from the consequences of his actions. On April 28, 1845, Thomas Hocker was taken to the gallows outside Newgate Prison and executed by hanging. To the very end, he refused to drop his performance, clinging to his bizarre, self-made fiction of romantic martyrdom. His story remains a chilling reminder of the lengths to which human arrogance can go. Hocker was so blinded by his own narcissism that he believed he could stand over his friend's corpse, lie to the police, and walk into a courtroom using the mask of a chivalrous gentleman to hide the soul of a monster. But his final defense didn't just fail, it ensured his destruction. In the end, the very facade of elite honor he used to hide his darkest sins became the exact noose that hung him.